Yeah, hi, I'm Shalini and I'm from Hyderabad. Prior to coming in UFP, I was actually working with different non-profits. I was working with Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and Government of United Andhra Pradesh to implement a career counseling workshops all over the state. And then I was a Teach for India fellow. And after that, I taught sociology for the undergraduate. And so from there, I moved to UFP. So I heard about UFP when I was scrolling through the Instagram. As such, I did not have any particular like seniors or somebody who told me about it. So it was like a very coincidence that I got to know it through Instagram without any knowledge. I think it was intuitive in that way, but also I think that I've always grown up in the urban. So I identify myself. I was born, brought up in Hyderabad, and was identify myself very much intimately. My identity is connected to the urban, and because I was also working at these intersections of research and practice, these two elements were something that I thought were very much inbuilt in the UFP program. So that was something very, that was very exciting for me. So I thought uh, this is a good place to be in. I think for me, they were one was very particularly that it has to be more interdisciplinary. I didn't know that the programs can be so interdisciplinary in that sense that I never thought that urban can be studied through GIS, through maps, and that you could actually articulate the issues of urban so much in such an interdisciplinary sense. So that was something that caught my attention. Like even before that, when I was like going through the application, and before that I was going through the profiles, I thought that that expectation of let me actually go into that interdisciplinary field was something very there. Definitely, yes. I think they were met. I think beyond expectations, I would say, in terms of the interdisciplinary aspect. I feel that I am much more open to the knowledge systems, and I can read things. Across the disciplines much better now. And previously, I had a very conservative idea of what discipline meant, but now it's not very much the same. So when I started off, I didn't think that it would align because, especially my academic background, because of my background in sociology, and because of my understanding that you can't move beyond your discipline. I didn't think that way. But when I looked at my practice of I working in different with different organizations, I really thought that when I moved in and I started working, I think I started being in UFP. I think I really feel that the alignment is much more stronger right now. And it just was, I think, the training. Just one word for it is rigor. I mean, which Gotham usually keeps using. But I think rigor is the word. I really feel that the program has been quite rigorous in trying to sort of put in and pack a lot of things together. And another word I would use is integration. I had a lot of skills behind me, but I didn't know how to connect them and integrate them. And I think this was a place which helped me sort of unpack those, put them together. And I'd use a metaphor of a thread and a pearl. I'm from Hyderabad, so my metaphor works. That I think the program sort of used, like put all my pearls together. Yeah, I think, yeah, having a work experience, presentations are not new to me, but I think what was really exciting and really challenging at UFP was the language, the vocabulary that you use for really articulating your knowledge and your social realities that you see. And also, I think what is also more interesting is this theorizing what you already know, theorizing the social reality. These were something new to me. And I would call these skills really important, and that's something I've learned. on any day, I think offline is the best. But I think the challenge of the pandemic was like really rightly taken. I didn't expect that it would go on so smoothly, even during the times when the pandemic was a challenge. And I think the program raised its expectations that way. It's also been quite flexible in that way. So I think I really appreciate everyone who's gone behind to make this more flexible. I think especially for online, I think the flexibility, but also the accommodative, the nature of the online. Even when I used to teach, especially during the pandemic that it just started off, it gave a lot of flexibility to the students, and it also made it more accessible. I think it could be any health emergency. It could be like the pandemic was a big set. So I think all these, keeping the limitations in hand, the best thing that we could have done was online in some aspects of it. And I think it was really helpful because it just made it more accessible, even for students who were going through medical emergencies and for students who were like in quarantine. And I think it wouldn't. I don't see any other way that you can be more accessible than online in these emergencies. So. One is definitely the structure of the program, but I think I would call the practica the most wonderful and memorable experience I've had, which really helped me, like understand the entire process of starting from the scratch, of defining the problem, going out on field, talking to to the community, connecting back, and then bring back, theorize that knowledge and share it with the rest of the cohort. I think practica has been one of the most enriching experiences, I would call, of my entire program. Yeah, I think it was very well designed in sort of understanding and accommodating that people come from different disciplines. So they have to be introduced into the subject, and then they also should have a common vocabulary, and then they have to build on that. And I think it is not very easy. That some like it's very easy to teach people from the same background, but not like it must be very challenging to actually do that. So I think that's a structure I really enjoyed having. But I loved the elective more because it just deepened my own knowledge, because that was the expectation I had. Like I wanted to deepen more. So electives were really enriching that. I don't imagine that anything can be without a visit. You can't divorce yourself from the social reality, and it would be like, I think that that's a most enriching aspect of actually moving into a new city also, that I could not have understood Bangalore without my practica visits. And I could not have understood the community, and I could not have articulated my own like knowledge of what I was looking at without in having visits. I think so it is a very, I think I would like call it an ethical um, point of building knowledge, is where that you have to go out and connect with the community and the social reality, and practica visits were really helpful for that. Definitely, yes. I grew up all my life in the urban, and primarily my identity has been that. And I, before knowing UFP, I actually thought that there was no space where people were talking about urban. And when I came here, I thought that there's an entire institution that's talking about urban, and I didn't even know that. But with all that is happening right now, it is even more practical and relevant that we talk about the place that we are going to live in, and we're also going to talk about like the vision of the urban. I think there's no better time actually than now to really talk about it. Having worked before, I found I first thought that came to my mind was like doing an internship again was something I was thinking of. But I think really one of the important experiences of internship and going through the process of internship has been to build those networks, and as Gautam calls it, the communities of practice. And I think it was very helpful for me to go through the process because it helped me get in touch with the organizations, go through how people build connections and how people build networks. And so that it is not just a business of transaction of where you will be placed or where you will intern for the next 2 months, but also like how do you look at organizations and what are the different ways you connect so that they can be allies in the future, not just for our work, but for the practice that we are doing. And I think that was really helpful, I would say. So I worked in a project that was basically with Hasirudala, and it is about understanding the aspirations of the waste pickers, the members of the waste picker collective that Hasirudala works with. And in that, primarily, we are using life history method to sort of understand the aspirations and map them so that the organization has a vision, and so that the community, so they know more about the organization. So we're doing like a part of discovery studies. So that's that sort of helped me understand the entire community and the work of waste picking and everything, of like the occupations and everything. And it's entirely on field, so that also helped me sort of really understand better about the sector. So yeah, very happy about it. I mean, if you look at definitely the interdisciplinary aspect of the occupations, I mean, like people coming from like architecture and social sciences and everything, very, very diverse. But also, I think culturally, people coming from different parts of the country, linguistically, I think it's also a challenge to hold a group with so many differences, but it's also an opportunity to learn and have that conflict, which will give rise to better sort of things. So I really believe that it was a very diverse group, with a lot of potential for good understanding and culture. Yeah. I really feel, first of all, very, very, like grateful that it just happened out of a coincidence that, I didn't know anyone, and I just saw on Instagram, just went through it. And so when I look back on a year, like probably like somewhere around February, this 2021, I really don't know if I could have like really got it in that way. Like not knowing anything and then moving into it, and then like right now I'm here and I'm going to complete the course. So that feels very surreal in many ways, but I really enjoyed the entire thing. I'm very happy about it, and I'm just going back with a lot of things to unpack again. So I think for me, live, these are very different. One is at Zolo, where we all stay, and one is at IIHS. I think both have been very, very enriching in that way that we were together. I think that's the most important part of it, that we were together. So we had got a lot of opportunity to learn. And the second part of it is, at the IIHS, where the environment gave us a lot of place to like study on our own, gave us a lot of opportunity to sort of access, library and other aspects of like the labs and everything. So I just feel very fortunate that I was here. I think my message for future applicants would be to, if you are really fascinated by the urban, and if you really feel that you need to move out beyond a general discipline and disciplinary orientation of what you look at, how you look at social reality, I think it's a good place to really explore and build your knowledge, so that you will be better. You will have really good clarity on what sectors to choose, how do you want to practice, and your mode of practice. And I think that will be a good place. Yeah.